In today's video, I'll be giving an update on how taking Zoloft to treat my anxiety and depression has been going now that I've been taking it for about 6 months. Working in primary care, this is something I see, diagnose, and treat all the time, and there is immense hesitancy from people who just don't know a lot about going on these types of medications. So I thought, hey, I've been on it and I could certainly talk about it. So that's what we're gonna do here today. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Liz, and I make videos about all sorts of things going on in my life as a family nurse practitioner, a mom of 2 toddlers, and a lover of all expensive hobbies that I really dive deep into and then promptly forget about. I feel like this video also should have one of those disclaimers because we're talking about medical stuff, so here we go.
This video is for educational purposes only and does not constitute actual medical advice. If you have any questions on the topic for yourself, please consult with your own healthcare provider and not some stranger on the internet.
I think that was my first disclaimer ever. That was fun, exciting. And you know what else is exciting? I've timestamped this video. So if you want to hop down and see a specific topic or a question that you have, and you don't want to watch the whole video, you can just go down in the description and check out the timestamp that applies to you. Aren't you excited? I thought so. Now, there will be a video coming out that goes over all the different questions that I've had related to Zoloft from a more clinical perspective, but I tried to make it one video and it ended up being insanely long-winded and no one would ever want to sit through it. So I decided for time's sake, we would make 2. And that way people who don't want to hear me yammer on about my own experience can have more of an informative video there. And here we'll talk about my experience. So stay tuned for that and subscribe if you haven't done that and you want to learn some lovely fun facts about this medication and other SSRIs from a more clinical perspective on another day. All right, so if you haven't watched my video I made a few months ago about why I started Zoloft, that may be a really good place to start and not like right here. I will link it in the description, and I was very much still in the this isn't helping stage of starting Zoloft at the point of making that video. So I think it's a really good comparison to now, but the TLDR is I developed significant anxiety with just like a spot of depression. And if you want to see that in action, I actually have a lot of vlogs from the last year where I document my life. And I just seem incredibly bummed out, and that's because I was. So fast forward to now, I've been taking Zoloft, which is the brand name of sertraline, for about 6 months, and I am feeling immensely better than I was a few months ago. If you're familiar with the GAD-7, I don't know how to say it. It's a scoring tool often used for anxiety. My score is a 6, and months ago it was 18, with 21 being the highest. And like I said, now I'm sitting at a 6, which I feel like in the middle of a pandemic and living in a city that doesn't believe in masks, I consider a massive win. In terms of dosing and what I'm on right now, I have gone up a little bit from the 50 daily that I was on when I started, and I'm currently taking 75 milligrams every night. And I had seen a decent improvement from when I had started to being on 50 milligrams. I was on that for about 2 months, but I was still having about 1 episode of severe anxiety, kind of like a panic attack-ish, about once a week. And my baseline anxiousness all the time was improved, but it was still really rough and really noticeable. And I was really reluctant, though, to increase the dose because I didn't want any additional side effects of the medication, my biggest of which was nausea, which just kind of was like all the time. And I had seen an improvement, so I thought that was as good as it was gonna get in terms of anxiety. But after talking with my husband and my nurse practitioner, they kind of like gently nudged me to just try 25 more and see what would happen. And I did, and like, holy cow, guys. I seriously feel better than I have in years. My nausea actually went away. I'm not really sure how that works, but I was like, it's fine, I'll take it. But really, I honestly think that I've probably had like mild to moderate anxiety and depression for years, and I just never really realized it. And after bumping up to the 75 milligrams, I am so much less anxious and irritable, like so much less irritable. If you remember, one of the huge reasons that I started Zoloft in the first place, it was because I felt like I wasn't enjoying my kids. They're 3 and 1, and they were causing me so much more irritation than was appropriate for like what they were doing. You know, toddlers are crazy, but like I was more annoyed than I should be, or I felt that I should be. And that has improved so much. And that probably is like my favorite thing of all because I've been able to really enjoy them and be so much less stressed all the time about having to have like my whole house and everything just so. Other in general benefits I've seen are kind of, I'm less worried about having to clean up messes and the clutter right away. I have always been the type of human that can't let dishes like sit in the sink. I have to clean up the kitchen completely before we move on to the next activity, which might sound like really silly of a thing to be like, oh, that's not a big deal. But if you know, then you know. It can feel like all you do literally all day is feel like you're cleaning up mess, and you're always telling your family like, oh, I'll be there in just like a minute. And then all of a sudden your day is gone. I can definitely focus on things better again. I have not been having insane chest pain. That basing crushed line like chest discomfort and tightness is gone most of the time. And I've been wanting to explore different hobbies, and this one is huge. I haven't felt like into anything for almost a year, if not longer, prior to getting to this point. Like, remember when I used to bake bread? I used to be really into baking bread, and that was well over a year ago. This was like pre-pandemic, back when like Jenna Fisher was making sourdough bread, dove right into that. And that was really my last hobby. And I've moved away from bread really, because everyone was doing it. So I was like, well, that's lame. Just kidding. Baking bread is really, really fun. But I've discovered a lot of other crafty stuff, and it just feels fun to have something that I like to do in my spare time other than like watch TV and play on my phone, which is nothing against those at all. I literally just had no interests. I remember when this was going on, a patient asked me like 6-ish months ago what my hobbies were. And I literally just sat there and almost cried, and I made something up because I literally could not think of a single hobby, not even one. And that was the beginning of realizing things were probably not going as well emotionally as I had hoped in the year. And here I would just like to pause, because I know as I'm saying this, it just sounds really obnoxious and braggy about, oh, like how great things are, and look at me, and it's doing all the things, and everything's great. And I hope you know that this is not my intention, like even a little bit. My intention is just to share with you that if you're feeling like I did in that first video, that things are just kind of like hopeless and sad, and drinking at noon seems like the only valid way to deal with your day. My friend, there are other options. They don't have to be medication by any means. For me, medication was the right answer mixed with other lifestyle stuff, but there are options, and you can feel better. And that's why I'm sharing this, so that you know that there is a better side of the hill that you're sitting at the bottom of, and it won't always feel like this, and that you are not alone. And if you are feeling incredibly reluctant to seek help and take medicine, start therapy, do whatever, you're not alone. And if you do, you are going to see change eventually once you find the right combination. And please, please, please see your healthcare provider and let them know how you're feeling. Again, you are not alone, and you deserve to feel better. You really do. And I will now step off my soapbox and go over some of the common questions of my own experience with the medication. And like I said, I will do a whole other video talking more of like the general information about Zoloft and other SSRIs, SNRIs, and kind of like the basic info that I give to my patients when I prescribe them, mixed with their and your most common questions. But in a more educational video. This one's more like just me, and that's anecdotal, so it counts, but it doesn't really. Anyway, probably the most asked question was like, what side effects did I see? In the very beginning, I had that weird dissociative feeling that is super duper common, some dizziness, and I was so nauseous. My anxiety was also a whole lot worse at the very beginning, and all of those are super typical side effects while your body gets used to the extra serotonin you're giving it. All of those side effects had leveled out by week 3, except for the nausea. That hung around like intermittently for like 2 months until I increased the dose, and it just magically went away. I was like, all right. Many people also asked if it caused me to gain any weight. And this answer is complicated. Have I gained weight since I started taking it? Yes. I never weigh myself. I like to just see how I feel in my clothes, but I did for this experience because I knew that's what my patients always ask. That's what a lot of you had asked. So I recorded it for you. Feel special. I only ever know what I weigh when I'm pregnant. So since starting Zoloft, I've gained 10 pounds, but I don't really think it's the medication, to be honest, that's actually caused me to gain the weight. I'm fairly sure it's because the Zoloft is working, and I'm living a much more relaxed lifestyle than I did a few months ago. I'm not sure if I've ever really talked about this a ton on this channel, but I'm really good at being really mean to myself. And I know I'm not alone in that, but I have always struggled decently with body image and feeling like I'm never good enough in things that I do, never healthy enough. And I've historically been very regimented about making sure I exercise 6 to 7 days a week, didn't eat a bunch of things like chips, cookies, and all the other delicious things that Joe orders at Aldi, and my husband, and brings into our home in astonishing quantities. And I will work myself to the brink of a breakdown in the name of showing up consistently for expectations I set for myself. And I would just be ridiculously awful in that way that I talk to myself if I didn't exercise, if I had what I deemed too much junk food or wine, or I didn't spend all of my free time working on getting YouTube videos up so I could stick to my 2 video a week schedule without failing. And it was a really vicious cycle of being truly, truly just depleted and having no free time, like literally none for hobbies that, I didn't even have them, so I guess it didn't matter. And if I succeeded in doing all of the things I set out to do, I was exhausted physically and emotionally, but if I didn't do them, then I hated myself and I needed to stew on that, which made me feel worse. And anyway, like since feeling a lot less anxious and just happier overall, a lot of that has faded, and it's definitely still a little bit there, but it's not nearly as bad. So I skip a lot of the days in terms of like exercise because I'm like, my body just isn't feeling it, which is something I'm still like trying to navigate because I'm not sure if I should force my body to do something it doesn't really seem to want to do, but it would definitely benefit from like the cardiovascular standpoint. So I have no idea. I'm working on it. I've also been eating many, many more delicious things, and I like don't regret it at all. And I made that announcement on YouTube that I would be abandoning the scheduled YouTube video life for one of when I can get a video out, here I will, which you guys were so supportive of, by the way. And I just want to say thank you. I have been doing the hobby thing a little bit every day, which has been super fun and relaxing. And I've been sleeping more and just like enjoying life more. So yes, I've gained some weight, and I definitely think it's more because of like the effect on my mood and not necessarily the medication itself. But I don't even care because I'm feeling so much happier and so much like better and less anxious and just more confident. Some days some days I don't agree with that last statement, and I very much care, and I wallow in the I'm the worst pit, but most of the days it's not that. And I'll happily be like a little softer, as my daughter says, Mommy, you're getting softer, and smiling than miserable and a few pounds lighter. And as we will discuss more in the video about objective views of like Zoloft, not all of my patients gain weight when they're on Zoloft, just like I would say like less than half do. It's kind of just how I felt less critical of myself, so I exercised a bit less. Many people gain energy and feel like they have this spark to be able to start exercising after starting Zoloft and treating some of their anxiety and depression symptoms. So it's not like a definite, and I've seen just as many people lose weight on it than I have gain on it. And that has been my experience taking Zoloft. Like I said, I in no way think that this medication is right for everyone. My goal here was just to shed some light on my own experience in case anyone out there is considering taking it and just wants to know that someone else has and that it's been okay and they've been hesitant going into it, because boy, was I hesitant, even though I write for it every day. Because starting a new medication is always scary, and I feel like if you know you aren't alone, that can be helpful. If you have any other questions, feel free to leave them below and I will answer them in the comments or incorporate them into my video coming soon all about Zoloft and the common questions I get about it and how I talk to my patients about it. Thank you again for all of your support as I figure out what the heck I'm doing in life and being a little bit more absent on here. It's my Cricket's fault. It's my iPad. I'm into Procreate and coloring, and that's all just like a really black hole, and I just jumped in like head first. But you guys are truly, truly the best humans. If you've also experienced any mental health struggles and want to share a little bit of your own experience, please feel free down below. As always, you guys learn and just like connect so much in the comment section. I feel like it's a great place for everybody else to see just how not alone you are. Have you ever done therapy and that was helpful? Have you ever taken Zoloft for your mental health or other medications? I am like all about raising awareness about how common mental health disorders are and just trying to talk about them more so that it can be more normalized. You 100%, I don't know what those words were, do not need to share, but if you want to join in the conversation, there are so many who would love to learn from your experiences as well. Just remember, you are not alone. You can get help. It can get better. I will leave the number of the suicide hotline below just in case you can't imagine a time when it ever could be better, because it will, but sometimes it's really hard to just remember that. And with that, I will leave you, my friends. Just remember that you are important. You deserve to be happy. You are not alone, and you can do hard things. Until next time, my friends. Bye. Side note, Joe found the pill timers, and they have a timer on the top, so it tells you the last time that you opened it, so you don't forget your medicine. I'll link them down below. It was like very cheap. You got 2 of them. They're the best thing ever. Otherwise I never remember like brushing my teeth. I'm like, have I already taken it? Lifesaver. Recommend them to like all my patients. Anyways, bye.